Have you ever poured your heart into a story only to find out it's not resonating with others? I once wrote a script based on my personal experience being an artist, and when I discovered that it wasn't quite clicking with the readers, I thought that maybe I was being too personal. But what if the problem was actually the opposite? That I wasn't willing to dig deeper and twist the knife on my fears of being a failure as an artist.
Amazing animation or okay animation, but you've got a nugget of truth that people will relate to, you know.
That's Tomm Moore, co-founder of Cartoon Saloon and director of amazing films. Every time I watch them, it's like entering a magical place where art and stories really come to life in the most authentic way. I'm screenwriter Pietro Schito, and if you want to become a better storyteller and thrive in the animation industry, subscribe now so you won't miss any new videos with practical tips and techniques from animation experts. So what is Tomm's secret? How does he manage to tell stories that are deeply relatable?
What I try to do with my movies is start with mythic moments. I draw things I want to see. There's images I want to see on screen that for me capture the whole movie. Like on Wolfwalkers, the father doesn't want to let go of his daughter Robin, and he holds her so tight in her human body that she has to leave her human body, basically a dead body, in his arms and leave as a wolf. And the minute I saw it in my head and the minute I started to sketch it down, I went, okay, this is the whole movie in this mythic moment. So I'm always looking for those mythic moments when I'm writing or working with writers. Something visual, something that shows the theme, the tone, the core of the story. Even now in the earliest stages of point of view, like whose point of view do we want to show this movie through, and keep remembering that that's the point of view that's most interesting to the audience and which captures the tone. And you often have a choice. Ross and I just really identified with the Sean Bean character, Bill Goodfellow, and we sort of lost ourselves in how interested we were, and it stopped being Robin's movie and started being his movie. So that's what I'm careful about in future.
Starting from something fresh without thinking about the formula and structure, it gives you that freedom to find those magical moments.
I think you should lean into using tropes or formulas very consciously. You know, I think that's what it's about, not wandering into doing something without considering it. And then sometimes I guess books can be formulaic if you kind of structure it from the book forward, but where I find books really helpful, like McKee's book or any of the great books that Save the Cat, they're fantastic when you're in it and you've created something original and now you're trying to find your way. I think Pete Docter said that once, that's like a map that helps you find your way in the dark rather than a prescribed set of instructions for how to write the story. So I prefer to kind of dive in and, as I say, draw, find those moments I want to see, work on an outline, and then turn to the books to help me make sure I'm on the right path, or to help me solve a problem, or to see where I might have gone wrong, or at least to just throw another light on things. The other thing that came from Will Collins was this idea of a painful truth. Sometimes when I'm looking for a way in, I look for something that's so true from my own experience that it's almost painful to share it. So definitely I noticed over the first movies I directed and co-directed, there was a lot of subconscious processing the pain of being a parent and having to let the child find their own way. In each movie and even in each sequence with a character, I try to ask what's the painful truth this character is dealing with here.
Do you get to a point where you decide to have the theme in a sentence so it's clear for everybody what is this truth that the movie is trying to explore?
Yeah, and it can go from broad to the particular, and there can be a lot of themes and you have to pick which one comes to the surface. But even before that, I kind of talk about tone. That's something I learned from Jim Capobianco. Great guy for tone. He really thinks tone is important, and I agree with him that it's not really the formula, the structure, the plot details, but the feeling that the story gives you. So on Song of the Sea, before we really had a story even, we had the music, we had a conceptual trailer, and we had a tone. I wanted to make something melancholy, musical with comedy. And so I was looking at Totoro, I was looking at different movies that I felt had the tone. Every time we would get into plot and it would lead us into something that felt more like action adventure, I was, no, we need to go back to something more gentle, melancholy, using music. And that helped us stay on track. And then on Wolfwalkers, it was quite different. Like Ross and I really consciously wanted to make something with a lot of action and adventure and kind of mystery and magic and intrigue and stuff. So not as gentle a movie. Every time we had to make choices, we could remember the tone we were aiming for and go back towards that, or make a choice that was more aligned with the tone that we had in mind.
Wolf, Get it, now!
Can you tell me more about the idea of painful truth?
Yeah, I mean, for example, on Wolfwalkers, very early on, we felt it was really important that there would be a moment where Robin would betray her friend. And all of us in that meeting had a story of, as a kid, that in order to be popular or in order to fit in, we rejected a friend. And that was painful for us all. And we all had painful memories and regrets about behaving that way. But it's also true to childhood that happens. As the story evolved, it became obvious that Robin wasn't doing this in order to fit in, but she was doing it in order to protect Maeve. And it gave another layer to it. And so we kept that moment, but we make it that she's almost like a little mirror of her dad. So we went back to Dad's painful truth. Dad was trying to keep Robin safe by keeping her in a cage, as it were, psychologically, physically, everything. And that's something very true for a lot of parents that we have to battle with, how much freedom to give our children.
Oh, you'll be grand.
It's for your own good, lass.
And then we kind of needed to refocus that on the relationship between Robin and Maeve. And so it went from this playground thing that we all remembered of being mean to some kid and rejecting them because they were different. And it became a little echo of the dad. So we kind of found a painful truth that we wanted to represent that was very much a show don't tell. It's like a kid in a cage. But later, as the story process went along, we realized, oh, it's actually Dad's painful truth that we're echoing through the little girl. It's a really crazy process. There's really no hard and fast rules, and I can just tell you what I do, and maybe there's a better way. I don't know.
The idea of a painful truth makes a lot of sense. I never thought about the narrative theme this way. Lord Protector lies to control the people in town by scaring everyone about wolves, saying they're really dangerous. He does this to establish himself as a leader and gain power and respect. But the truth is that the wolves are not harmful and they just want to live in peace. Even if it's painful, your personal experiences and pain can be a powerful source of inspiration.
I mean, now I have a little granddaughter. She's 5 years old, and I think it's an honor to get to make movies for children because they haven't been completely saturated with content yet. And it feels like a movie that makes an impression on you as a child, makes a really deep impression.
This magical thing that happens with kids, they forget about what's real and what's not. That's unique, and it's an innocence that will lose animation when it's for kids. It speaks to everybody, but there's something from their point of view that it's very magical. I mean, they believe it completely.
On Wolfwalkers, we really felt we had it in the script, and we had done a lot of drawing, and Ross and I had worked with Will a lot to get to a script that we thought was ready for production. Basically, we made that script and we watched it on screen, we showed it to kids, and it did work. But the problem was too much focus on the adult characters. They were interesting characters and we related to them a lot. And we ended up with 20 minutes of movie that were explaining something about an adult world that didn't matter to the two kids that were the main focus of the movie or our audience. It mattered to us. We had a discussion. We said, do we want to make a movie that gives so much time to like a 40-year-old man? And I think there's room for that. But for this movie, we went back to our tone. You know, we want something magical, action, adventure. And the core of that, especially once we found the voice actors, was the relationship between the two girls. We sat with the story team. We called our co-producers and said, we're going to go over budget and over schedule, but we can't go ahead with this opening act. That was really painful on a number of levels, but we knew we had to rewrite those first 20 minutes.
Your studio is like the dream for many people. It's independent, relatively. It started really small and kept growing. We're able to keep authenticity.
First, I want to say it's an ongoing thing. Like, we're still balancing commerce, and we have projects where the notes are crazy. Don't imagine it's all perfect here.
Tomm Moore has a lot to share with us. Now that you've learned how to create authentic characters and stories, click on this video to discover from Tomm himself how to maintain their authenticity throughout production and establish a great culture for your team. I'm Pietro, this is WFA Animation, and I'll see you in the next video.